three nations were mentioned, right? Syrian, Israel, Egypt. And the qualifier for Egypt, the description for Egypt is my people. Whoa, when I first read the book of Isaiah chapter 19, and also my favorite topic, one of my favorite topics, Egypt. You say, Egypt is God's people? Have you ever wondered why is it so? God's people supposed to be Israel, then so how? Assyrian is the head of my work. Okay, that means God's instrument. Egypt, my people, God's people. And then Israel is God's inheritance. Okay, so now rewind back to the book of Exodus. When God told Moses to tell Pharaoh, let my people go. He said, let my firstborn go. So Israel is God's firstborn. But then Egypt is also God's people. So does it alarming? Sounds alarming to you. Egypt is not enemy. Egypt is also God's people. So and then all the nations, according to many prophetic books, all the nations be very strong nations like Assyrian, Egypt are God's people. It's just that Israel is his firstborn. So that's why when the Pharaoh didn't allow the Israelites to leave, so the 10th plague, the first one were the target. You see, Okay, so now we are looking at ancient Near Eastern civilizations. We begin with Egypt. First of all, this is from the world history, Wikipedia or whatever world history references you have. The Bronze Age, okay, early Bronze, middle, and then late Bronze Age. Okay, and the next page is Iron Age 1, Iron Age 2, and just take note a little bit on the year. That is 1200 BCE, before Common Era. Okay, 1200, 950. That's the Iron Age 1. Rewind, the earlier slide. Late Bronze Age is around this period. Okay, 15 to 1200 BCE. Now, why I single these two out? Because between this period, late Bronze Age to early Iron Age, that's the Exodus story take place. Okay, early Egypt ruled Canaan for over 300 years, meaning Egypt was very powerful then. His dominion is not just on Egypt, Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, but beyond the region. Okay, and many people, they send prince and princess, send prince to be trained at war, pick up the administration skills. That's where ancient Egypt become famous. And archaeological discoveries reveal cultural interactions in the areas of deities. That means Egyptian gods or goddesses, okay, that kind of image have actually entered into the other local cultures and influence their art, influence their worship. And also Egyptian art is famous. This is one of the familiar one. And then technology. Egypt, Isaiah 19:25, not Exodus. One of the oldest cities in the world, okay, because of the river, ancient civilizations, very rich at that time, strong. That's why they were called empire. And then a dominant ancient empire, which because of the dominion over the Canaan land, okay, so it affects our center of focus, which is Israel. Three glorious imperial periods. Now this one we must know a little bit. We all know world history, Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom, New Kingdom. This one is bold because of the year. That's Exodus year. Okay, range from 1500 to 1500 to 1000 BCE. So it is about 3000 plus years from now. And Old Kingdom, how old is Old Kingdom? About 5000 from here, from now. And pyramids were built during Old Kingdom. Okay? And during the Middle Kingdom, actually all these between Old and Middle, between Middle and New, there are some intermediate periods where Egyptians they were weak. Okay, not strong. Depends on who became the pharaoh lah. Okay, and then the new kingdom emerged with many very strong and famous pharaoh, where movies all come centering around the new kingdom. Okay, during the old kingdom, a lot of artwork. Okay, Egyptians, how to say, they display their strength in artwork, medicine, astrology. Okay, but then when come to new kingdom, it's like going for war. They are strong because of military strength. Okay, so the Exodus story happened during a very strong new kingdom period, under a very strong pharaoh, no name in the Bible, speculations, huh? So that means the Exodus stories, a group of slaves, God's people, running away, okay, coming out from Egypt is really a miracle. No, who can fight the mighty pharaoh, especially under the new kingdom period? Okay, so strong. No one would imagine who else is bigger than pharaoh at the time. Of course, God is bigger lah. Remember, mighty hand? God's mighty hand is greater. Okay, this is, okay, where is it now? Saw the golden mask and then disappeared. Okay. Golden mask, Tutankhamun, one of the famous pharaoh. He's a boy king. He died 19 years old. Tutankhamun, we heard, right?
Yes.
So his tomb was discovered only in 1922, underground, and then intact. Okay, no robbers ever found the grave, so they discover everything in good condition, including this golden mask. And I get to see it in Egyptian Museum. So when I saw it, I was so 感动, you know. I was like tears on my eyes, and now I see you. I like history, and then during this period, no one built pyramid anymore because pyramid is so stand out, so you attract all the robbers come and rob you. So and then during this period, many of the pharaohs, they start digging underneath for graveyard, for their collections of treasure, because they believe in afterlife. All the pharaohs, they want to enter eternity. Imagine we preach the gospel to ancient Egypt, but Jesus, they are searching for eternity, you know. So, and then all the pictures, the wall painting, the relics, they are carving, all tell stories about this pharaoh, and then crossing the Nile River on the boat, you know the drawing, and then going after one step to another, entering finally at the gate where their hearts are taking out to weigh on the scale whether you have conscience or not, you are a good king or not. They only qualify you to enter eternity. So you know the story, you say, wow. But then they are too far off Jesus' time. Meaning, the search for eternity, okay, how to say eternity and also meaningful life, final destination is from every age, even until today. Okay, thank God we have Jesus. Okay, no longer searching, we know where our final destination is. Okay, the Exodus led by Moses, led by God actually, through Moses, is during this new kingdom, okay, imperial period, which means Egypt was at their strongest. Okay, so no joke, not during the very weak king, then a group of slaves come out, you know, no. So, two possible dates for Exodus event. BCE, all happened before Common Era, 1450. The other view, 1250 BCE. Okay, all got biblical support one. Okay, can someone read 1 Kings 6:1? And another, please read Exodus 1:11. Yeah, please.
Solomon builds the temple in the 480th year after the Israelites came out of Egypt. In the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Zif, the second month, he began to build the temple of the Lord.
Because of these 480 years mentioned in Kings, the book of Kings, First Kings, chapter 6, verse 1, and then they calculate, it could be this year, and this year during Pharaoh Thutmose III. So this is one view, but more popular view is this one. That means later, 200 years later. So you see the discrepancy, wow, so far away, 200 years, but for the ancient standard, this is very good already, We can't tell which 100 years. Now we even pay bill, hour, minute, and second, all stated down, right? You pay 12 ringgit, 50 cents for one lunch. This one is 200 years difference, but this is more popular, according to another person, Exodus chapter 1 verse 11. You can just read. Yeah, you can, louder.
Okay, I'll read. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor, and they built Pithom and Ramesses as store cities for Pharaoh.
Pithom and Ramesses, the name of the cities. Usually you name the city after big shots, VIP, especially Pharaoh. And then Ramesses. We have Ramesses, several generations, okay, in the history of new kingdoms, Pharaoh. They have several, depends on which dynasty. Ramesses 1 is not famous, but Ramesses 2, very famous. And his reign is around this period. So if it is really Ramesses 2, Ramesses 2 became the Pharaoh, and then the Exodus take place, it could be 1250 BCE. That is the second view, most popular. Even the movie, animation, whatever, you see Pharaoh and then you see Ramesses is the name. Then you can see the popular view. And this Ramesses, until today, in Egypt, they discover hundreds of statues with his name. He is a very narcissist Pharaoh. I call him a narcissist because, wow, he asked his slaves or workers to make hundreds and hundreds of statues depicting his own image, and then he put a name on the shoulder, an ancient Egyptian name, Ramesses, so it won't be mistaken, it is him. Even very huge one, so huge until fall down because the leg is broken, and then now still like lying down, you can just pay money and you won't see just one statue, very big. Okay, there's one temple at very inner area of Nile River called Abu Simbel. outside the sanctuary, it has actually 4 statues, very huge, sitting like this. We were thinking 4 pharaoh or 4 gods, but it's all Ramesses. So you can see, wow, not one, not enough, 4. Well, where can see people so narcissist one, right? And inside, painting after painting, okay, relics, all his history of conquer. Wow, how he grabbed the hair of his enemies, okay, stand on the chariots, wow, commanding the army, wow. Very, how to say, brave depiction of Ramesses. So he reigned very long, I think more than 50 years. Powerful, okay, and very narcissist. So imagine if he is the Pharaoh during Moses' time, and Moses led God's people out from Egypt, and it is a really hit on his honor and also his pride. Okay, imagine, So, but no name mentioned in the book of Exodus. Who is the Pharaoh? I think it's intentional, because Pharaoh is not big shot. The only person who is important is God led his people out of Egypt through his servant Moses. So we remember Moses, we know God, okay, even God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and no name on the Pharaoh. So we can only speculate now. So the best guess, these 2. Of course, there are still others, There are several lady pharaohs. Even one of them, Hatshepsut. Okay, I like her name. It's Hatshepsut. Okay, Hatshepsut is a lady pharaoh. Very good king. I heard a very good pharaoh and very wise. Even she is named among the speculations who is the pharaoh during Moses' time. Okay, but those are the two ones. Political, economical, cultural, strong, influential, influence the Canaan land and the nations around that area. So those Egyptian period, we call it empire, not just great nation, it's empire. You know what empire means lah? That means domineering. You also influence the running of the other countries. Just like now, we are actually, how to say, very greatly influenced by Hollywood culture, American culture, and also Chinese culture. You realize or not? The Chinese culture, even language, even the Chinese speaking way, okay, have infiltrated, this is not a good word, influence, okay, among the speaking of Chinese, among Chinese people. There's the influence of Chinese, but the influence from Hollywood, from America also have been long influence our thinking, our reading, entertainment, right? No, So, and then we are talking about politically, okay, culturally, and economically very influential. If those nations are at war, that means all of us are affected, lor. That's why we will pay very high price for our diesel. Now lah, if you're pumping diesel. So Canaan land is the only way across from the east and west. Remember the three regions, Canaan land, and then Mesopotamia, and then Egypt. So if they are at wars, or they are having good relationship, trading, export, imports, in the middle is Canaan land. That means Israel. So many wars recorded take place in this area. Okay, those are the ancient Near Eastern trade route. Okay, people cannot walk from here, Jerusalem, like this, shorter. Have to go up like this. Why? Come again? Desert. People will die here, right? Water, they follow the water. They follow the river, the valley. Okay, so those are the ancient trade route. Remember last week we were having this arrow 6 routes. Okay, they were following this river. Okay, whenever, from Abraham journey, it's like this, from Ur, and then Haran, and then come here. And then when they come to Egypt, and then come back, and then when they were taken exile, this way, okay? And then when they return, they also follow this way. So, Old Testament, it's Old Testament world. So the world map of Old Testament is so small, so it's not really difficult reading Old Testament if we know the location. Okay, Egypt weakened during the intermediate periods and also after the New Kingdom. During the period where Egypt, they were weakened, the Hittite Empire, once very powerful, not much recorded in the Bible though, but then according to the world history, Hittite is a very great empire, very strong, perhaps as strong as Egypt, but not much written record on it. They also collapsed, and then remember last week I mentioned about their population shifts, where people migration, a great migration, came before around 1200 BCE. So the Hebrew Exodus also happened during that period. Remember the second review, 1250, 1250 BCE, during that period. And during that time, Phoenician people come from Macedonia, they are sea people, they occupy the sea land, the coastal land, and then this migration happened together with the Hebrews Exodus, and then when they moved to some places, for example Palestine, okay, and also Syria, small city-state emerged. The second part of this first hour, we will be looking at these smaller nations. Jebusites, Perizzites, Amorites, all those. But we're not talking about big empire. We are at Egypt now. Okay, so then later we can have a Christian reflection. What does all this relationship tells us today? Okay, Aram, not much record in the Bible. Here and there we can find they are active around. Not 9 BC, it's 900, 9th century BC. Okay, First King, what is this? 2 20, chapter 20 to 22, I think. Something is missing.
Yeah.
And then Second King, something is missing from here or from? Thank you, it's 22. Yeah, how come? Sometimes typo error. Okay, 3 chapters. First Kings, you can see the conflicts between Israel, okay, and Aram. Aram, the Aramaic is a language, which is also biblical language. Some of the books in the Bible, Old Testament, are written in Aramaic. For example, the book of Daniel. Half of the book of Daniel, from chapter 2 to chapter 7, originally were written in Aramaic. And it was the international language during Old Testament time. Imagine, you can influence the use of language, I mean, you are very powerful, right? Just like today we speak English, okay, it's recognized as international language. We can speak English, we can go everywhere. Okay, although, I mean, have a better chance communicating. Aramaic was the international language at Old Testament time. Imagine the 2 countries are at war, so the Assyrian come and invading this southern kingdom, Jerusalem, and they gave the letter, threatening letter, right? And say, you better surrender on all this. And then the time Hezekiah was a bit kelam-kabut, right? And then he went to seek the Lord. Imagine what language he was speaking at the time. It was Aramaic. So very powerful kingdom, although not much recorded in the Bible as much as Egypt, Babylon. You know why? Because Egypt is so important, the slavery, the Exodus event. And then a lot of written record on Assyrian also, because they were the one who actually finished off Northern Kingdom. And then a lot of records on Babylonian, because they were the one who finished off Judah Kingdom. Okay, and then the rest, like Aram, although very powerful, Hittite, powerful, but then they didn't, here and there they had war, okay, have connections here and there, but then not much important to the fate of Israelite nations. Okay, so you see, the Bible were written down also selectively. Okay, First Kings, Second Kings talk about Israel and Aram at war, and then Second King chapter 12 also. So this is the land of Aram and then Israel. Sometimes they are in good terms. Even they foster marriage. Okay, and then other time they are at war. Depends on which king. Okay, Assyrian conquered ancient Near Eastern during those period of time, 1500 to 1100 BCE. Okay, become the first, after Egypt, the first Mesopotamian empire. That means the other area already. Egypt is southern. This is eastern. Eastern power conquered ANE, and then they come back, defeated a coalition of 10 kingdoms. They are very strong. Assyrian map, according to this series of artist impression, they occupied this area. Okay, remember the circle last week? Small circle, Babylonian bigger circle, and then Persia even bigger circle. So that means the power, the dominant areas getting bigger and bigger. Assyrian, they are famous for what? If you read a little bit, you know. They are famous for their war. Writing. Weapon, good weapon. What writing?
Uniform. No.
Wow. Okay. Yes, they have actually. But better than them is Egypt lah. There's so many heritage of their writings, archaeological, how to say, writings. Assyrian, they were a nation who are good at war, and also very fierce, and also very cruel. They are famous, so-called infamous, for their cruelty. Okay, so imagine if we read the book of Amos, chapter 4, Amos were mocking the Northern Kingdom people, saying, "Wow, the Assyrian will come and then chain you, put you in chain, and then use a hook to hook you back to their capital." Hook where? It's the way they torture their, how to say, remnant, okay?
And actually, this is Jonah's time.
Jonah.
Was it in Syria?
Also, yes, Assyrian, Nineveh is Assyrian capital. Hook where? Hook at the ceiling, the mouth of the ceiling of the mouth, or hook at your tongue. I mean, it's a nation who is very cruel, and when people heard of Assyrian coming, they are very scared because they make sure maximum casualty, maximum death, and then you can imagine a picture of a bloody area. Wow, everybody dies. That's why we mentioned about the book of Jonah. That's why Jonah was so reluctant to go and spread God's message to them. They don't deserve to repent. They do not deserve God's grace. They deserve to die. And that's why That's why I can understand Jonah. So he really purposely went all the way, want to run away from God. Okay, how can I preach to those? How do you call that? Cruel people, barbarian. Wow. Okay, Assyrian. Now this is one of the. You can Google this image. How Assyrian? Why we know Assyrian is their head is like that, no? Very sharp one. The Assyrian army were torturing. What do you call the people? Prisoners. Okay, skin them alive. Alive, and then tie them up like this. And this one become their achievement. Assyrians, they are very cruel. And the family, small kids here, they are watching. They make them watch. Okay, some of the weapons, okay, the tools, torturing tools are actually displayed. You can take a look in the British Museum. I haven't been there, one day I must go. Okay, and then, not a glory thing to see it's just that the archaeological discovery testify to what has been written in the Bible, the background, stating why this nation is so fierce and why Amos is using that to warn the northern kingdom. Okay, if you do not return from your evil way, idol worship, and kowtow to this great nation, this is what is going to happen to you. Okay, so this nation fell, and then we didn't hear of modern day Assyrian. Where are they? There's no nation. Although the people are still here, the language is still alive. They scattered around Iran. Okay, from a bishop there we heard. Okay. Next one. Okay, Assyrian conflicts with Israel. If you read the book of Kings, you can also read because they are the one who is responsible to the collapse of Northern Kingdom and of the Northern Kingdom Israel. Okay, where they invade Samaritan, which is the capital of Northern Kingdom, and then several names. Pul. Okay, that's Assyrian king. One of them. King Pekah, this Israel. Assyrian king Tiglath-Pileser, and also Sennacherib. All right, and then some of the kings actually kowtow to Assyrian. Some of the kings rebel, but then how to say, not successful, and then was killed. Very cruel, the great cruelty. I don't want to talk about them anymore. Okay, but then their conflicts after they already got in the northern kingdom, and now they come to Judah already. Ahaz sought Assyrian assistance. Judah king. Ahaz is Hezekiah's father. Okay, and then Assyrian king Sennacherib attacked Hezekiah. That's the son now. So a very young king just became king. His leadership being tested, but he conquered. He's victorious because he seeked the Lord. And King Sennacherib threatened Jerusalem. All these are stated in 2 Kings chapter 18 to 19. And after that, you know what happened? The whole army of Sennacherib died on one night. How to say 18,500? Because now I'm translating to English. 180,000, thank you. And then because of plague, actually, in the Bible it is stated, the messenger of God okay, come out and then slain the army. Actually, whenever the Old Testament talk about the messenger of God come out with knife, that means it's quick. Okay, it's always like that. That means, wow, whole night, I mean just one night only the whole army collapsed. So Sennacherib went back and then he was killed by his own people. That's the decline of Assyria. How to say, very swift, very fast. And then they never become strong again. Okay? And then after that, Babylonians and Medes, they merge, become the new alliance, and then they overtake. That's the Neo-Babylonian period. Now we have another kingdom coming up. Okay? I cannot turn next slide. Babylonian, actually it's Neo-Babylonian. Neo means the new alliance, that means the new. But then usually with short form we call it Babylonian. It is actually an alliance between Medes and Babylon, and then they form new alliance, very strong. King Nebuchadnezzar, you heard of him? Okay, even among the world history, he's very famous. Good leadership, also cruel. But then in the hand of the Bible authors, he was the one who finished off southern kingdom, that means Judah. So the depiction, the focus is on how he destroyed southern kingdom, subdue and face revolt from Jehoiakim, and Zedekiah. That is the second king, almost towards the end of Israelite history already. And the next slide, please. So what happened? Southern Judah now also collapsed in the year 586 BCE. Okay, and then exile. People put into exile. 3 groups of people exiled to different places. One is to taken captive to Babylon. The other group fled to Egypt, and one group stay on. Okay, and actually many people also died. Those who remain to break into these 3 groups of exile, only 1/3. 1/3 has died. Okay, 1/3 already scattered. And then, so we see those, how to say, Babylonian captivity is a pain to Israelite nation. Even until now, they will remember for lifelong. So when they return later on, because they changed the government and now the new empire come up, when they rebuilt their nation, when they rebuilt their homeland, no nation, just homeland, Babylon, when it's being depicted in the Bible, it's always evil power together with Assyrian. From the mouth of the prophets, okay, from the hand of the biblical writers, because of this pain, their history tie in together, and also Egypt. So all these great nations are. And now come the very friendly nation, which is Persian. So can you turn next slide? I no longer can control the slide. The fall of Judah and Southern Kingdom. So no more kingdom. So for us, we are not Israel, so we are like reading the Bible story, God's people. But imagine we are God's people, we lost everything like them. It is very faith-shaking event. Okay, so that's why when they go home, when they return, they need to rebuild. They have to rebuild their faith in God, and they rebuild their theology as well. Apart from building building the temple, building their society and the community, they have to rebuild their faith. So also theology have to rebuild. Okay, exile 3 groups: remnant in Jerusalem, exiles to Babylon and Egypt, and Israel placed in foreign government positions. Like who?
Daniel.
Very good, Daniel and the 3 friends. They even were given foreign names, right? Daniel's foreign name is what? Something like Bethesda. Okay. But then in the book of Daniel, Daniel always appear as Daniel 1. Why? Why do you think so? Imagine you were there, Daniel's name in Hebrew, Dan or Dana. Dan is judge. Dani, my judge. Daniel, God is my judge. Okay? It becomes a proclamation also. So Daniel is always Daniel, although he has a Bethesda name. Okay, you know the rhetoric behind the author of the book of Daniel. Want to remind people, he is still Daniel, God's people, Hebrew, I mean Jews. Okay, regardless of he's given a new identity, new name, learning new language. Okay, so that's what they've gone through. What do you call that? Cultural assimilation. We are very blessed now in Malaysia, although we also have certain degree of faith persecution comparing to people elsewhere. For example, in Indonesia, I'm talking about Chinese lah. Some of the, not some, all of them have to have an Indonesian name, right? We have students in seminary by the name Abdul Rahim, Amina, okay, and also Apriyadi. But real people, they are my students. But then they all Chinese. So we still remember when we give the names, we are coming to your church with my student Amina, Abdul Rahim. Muslim. They thought it's Malay, local Malaysian. I said no, they're from Indonesia. At one time they could not learn Mandarin. Okay, so imagine in Malaysia we cannot name ourselves. Goh Wei Fan is my Chinese name, but I have to name myself as Fatima binti Abdullah. I like the name Fatima, I don't know why. Fatima. So and then for my primary school, Fatima is reading, is studying in this school. University, Fatima, you will get into University Science Malaysia. Oh, Fatima binti Abdullah, you are going to Seminary Theology Malaysia, and all the time is Fatima. Slowly, gradually, I will forget my name is Goh Wei Fan. Right? But then the book of Daniel, it is Daniel, Daniel, Daniel all the time. You know the intention of the author is that God's people never forget their identity. You can give them new names, Fatima, Betty, Sasha, still Daniel, and God is my judge. That's the message. So that means they are struggling to hang on to their faith. Theological reasoning, to give, to deliver hope, to communicate that God gives second chance. So it happens during the exile. Next slide, let's see. They were so strong, Babylonian. This is artist's impression of how their city, fortified city were like. Okay, 2 layers of wall, and even 2 layers of very thick. And actually, in history, no one has successfully invaded the city before. They collapse not because they are weak. They collapse because people open the door from inside. You know why? It's interesting. You know, during the Babylonian Empire, the Babylonian priest, their nation god is Marduk. Marduk is here, depicted here. Animal, small animal like lion, but actually like dragon, but short dragon, like Chinese qilin, Dragon is very long, but this one is short. Okay, Marduk is that type, got scale one, and then their nation worship Marduk, but then the king at the time, by the name of Nabonidus, Nabonidus worship another god by the name of Sin, that is moon god. So all the priests of Marduk become out of job, right or not? Because the king embraced another religion, so they were not happy already. And Nabonidus, the Babylonian king, he's also like to go to outside war against other states. So he left his dominion, his power to his son Belshazzar. That's in the book of Daniel chapter 5. So when Belshazzar told Daniel, if you see the right thing and then you can interpret, I will make you number 3. Have you ever asked why number 3? Not number 2? Because he's number 2 Belshazzar is number 2, number 1 is his father So Nabonidus never like to stay locally, not always outside, and then change religion. So many people don't like him, even the priests don't like him. So now chapter 5 of book of Daniel say they were actually having feast inside this palace. Okay, inside here maybe here And then outside, the army of Persian, they already have been invading and then surrounding the city, but cannot break. 3 years So they even, you see a waterway. Okay. They even think of a way to suck all the water out from the waterway so that they can walk in on dry land. Cannot. Okay, they think of many ways. So strong, fortified. Fortified capital. But then remember, the priest doesn't like the king. So and then the Persian king Cyrus will say, make a deal with them. Very much like Malaysian politics. If you support me, if you help me, I help you, or something like that. If you support me, then I will rebuild Marduk temple for you. That means they have job again, and then their religion become the domineering religion again. So it is actually because of bribery. The priest ordered people to open gate from the inside, and the Persian army can go inside. Okay. And chapter 5, Daniel said on that night, when they were drinking, feasting with God's vessel from Temple of Jerusalem, they were drinking with these utensils, right or not? And then suddenly there's a finger on the wall, writing on the wall. No one know what does it mean, only Daniel. Daniel was saying, your kingdom will break into two. So on that night, King Belshazzar died. Right? And then the Persian came. And then why one kingdom break into two? Because the Persian and Medes form alliance. So it become two, take over this one. So now the Persian Empire has come. Babylonian, they are not only strong in this fortified city, but they also built ziggurat. And also, have you heard of Hanging Garden? The ancient seven wonders of the world. But some people say it's not true but then it's so famous something like Hanging Garden like this this is artist impression maybe AI impression, I also don't know. And then how to say his peaceful way, diplomatic way of conquering nation, and in fact his piece of land is greater, bigger than Babylonian. And in the book of the Bible, the biblical author actually treat him as a good king. Even call him Messiah, Hebrew, that means Messiah. Even call him Messiah, Cyrus, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 45. The Messiah, that means God's anointed one, he's referring to Cyrus, the Cyrus name is there. Not Jesus, I'm not talking about Jesus now. They're talking about a pagan king who doesn't know Jehovah, who doesn't know Yahweh, okay? Cyrus. Why? Friendly, because he's the king who actually end the dominion of Babylonian and allow the people to go home and then to rebuild their community. So the exiles returned to rebuild Jerusalem, the place and the temple, and also rebuild their community under Ezra, rebuild the city wall under Nehemiah, rebuild the temple under Zerubbabel, and rebuild their theology. So after that, this new intertestamental period already, because the Old Testament story ends at Persian dominion and end at the period where they rebuilt their homeland. Okay, and then suddenly quiet in the Bible only, but many things happen in the intertestamental period. Greece came, Alexander the Great, very young king, very powerful. That's a legend. He never lose a war. Keep fighting and keep winning, conquering, and then die at 33. Same year as Jesus. Okay, very powerful. Conquered Persia. Persia also become weak because of internal conflicts. Okay, this son-in-law will take over the throne, and then all this. So conflict will weaken the state now. Just like the church now, if conflicts among the brothers and sisters, among the leaders will weaken the church. Okay, so all these weaken, and then Greece take over. So a brief history of independence. Last week, did I mention that? Hasmonean dynasties? Yes. A little bit, because under Greece, after Cyrus, after Alexander the Great, the Greece, several generations of kings. One of them, Antiochus IV, very evil. He persecuted the Jews, and then erect the statue of Zeus, okay, and then ask them to sacrifice pig, and then force the people to eat pig, eat pork, and then you know what? Kill you, so persecution, and then spark the Maccabean revolt, okay, and then form Hasmonean dynasty. Okay, that happened between the intertestamental period. Okay, nothing in the Bible, but it's interesting thing to read. And then after that, Romans came, rule over Greece. But then the Greek culture still alive. Greek language being adopted by the Romans. So form another thing called Hellenistic period. That means Roman political power, but Greek culture, language. So Jesus' story in the New Testament were written in Greek because of this background. So we understand the background, we understand why the language is like that. So in the seminary, we have to pick up two languages. Hebrew because of Old Testament, and then Greek because of New Testament. Okay, have to pick up, and then we can read and then exegete. Roman came, established dominance in this place, and Romans always center around Mediterranean Sea. See the color, green color, Romans Empire. Okay, remember just now I talked about Assyrian, and then Babylonian and Persia is all here, Mesopotamia. Remember the circle? Okay, that's Old Testament, and then Egypt, and then Israel. Now we move into intertestamental period towards the New Testament. The map, how to say, move a bit to the west. So it's centering around Mediterranean Sea. That's New Testament map. Okay, but still very small. So, alright, so Assyrian, just quick one. Assyrian, their dominion, green color. Neo-Babylonian, greater power. Okay, still Egypt is here, and then Persian. You see Persian? So far away. Okay, and then so wide. Romans centering around Mediterranean Sea. You can have the PPT from Pastor Chin Yi, if you want to. You can copy down. All these are I also copy down from Google. Okay, from the same series. We still have a little bit time. Okay, let's go to the Israel smaller nation. We're done talking about the big empire, the superpower. Remember, Israel, they have many, how to say, smaller nations becoming their neighbors, living, surrounding them, together with them, which they failed to drive out during Joshua time. Okay, inhabitants of Canaan, collection of small city-state alliances. Sometimes these small cities, they also become vassals of Egyptian empire because Egyptian rule over them during a very long period of time. So 7 nations. 7 is how to say, symbol, imagery, numerical imagery to symbolize complete. That means all the nations. Okay, although 7 only mentioned here, Amorites, Jebusites, Perizzites, Hittite, and then Girgashite, Hivites. Actually, there are more than 7. More than 7. Okay, can we read Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1? And then also look at this map. It actually has more than 7. If you have turned to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1, we read together. Amen. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
When the Lord your God brings you into the land of your entry and drive out before you many nations, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations larger and stronger than you.
When I first read this passage, I was thinking, how can it be stronger and mightier? We always think Israel is very strong. I mean, in the eyes of this great empire lah, but even these neighboring nations, they are so small. So, but of course we can continue reading and know God's will for them, for the Israelite, His people, to actually testify for God and influence the culture. But at the end, they were being influenced by this culture. Okay, within Canaan, under the Egyptian control are these smaller states, 7 city-states. Joshua chapter 5 to 12, actually, if we read carefully, you see they frequently engaged in warfare or alliances, in terms of marriage alliances or political alliances. So those city-states, smaller city-states, they are semi-nomadic tribes. Okay, very much like the way of their living is like Genesis, where they also move around. Okay, like Abraham and Isaac, you know. So we have Philistia. See the circle here. If we have a map also, okay, coastal plain area. They are migrants to Canaan from abroad during the Great Migration period, 1200 BCE. They are called the people of the sea. So they settle down at the coastal plain area. And remember, they are stronger. Their technology is more advanced. They are richer because of the harbor. Okay, and they are more advanced. Known as the people of the sea, they threatened Israelite territory, and King David's military strength confined them to coastal area. When David, his kingdom get stronger, he actually can subdue them. I mean, they still have their own place. It's just that David also getting stronger. Ongoing territorial conflicts with Judah are recorded between the Philistia and also the nation Judah. Okay, remember actually David, when he was pursued by Saul, he hid himself among the Philistines for a period of time. Many people believe that during those times when he was hiding, he learned the technology of using iron as weapon. That means making weapon using iron. Okay, in those times they are using bronze and also the agricultural tool to fight in war. So when he learned from the Philistia the technology, armory, he made his nation great after that. Phoenicia is on the north. Okay, survivors of invasion by Israelites, Philistines and Arameans settled along the northern coastal region. Tyre is the major Phoenician port. And remember Queen Jezebel, wife of King Ahab, was a Phoenician princess. And this place is the center of Baal worship. That explains why Jezebel asked his 450 prophets, Baal prophets, to challenge Elijah. So this city, this nation is known for wealth, luxury and rampant idolatry. But they are very rich because they also, at the harbor, they make ships. Sorry?
This related to the sons of God and
The
sons of God that led to Nephilims and
that's very earlier. That's Genesis, right? Chapter 6.
Led to this.
I haven't studied that, but it's a good question. Now, where do they come from? Okay, Edom. Okay, you know Petra? Any of you have gone to Jordan, Petra before? It's here. Edom, a target of prophetic condemnation. Okay, Jeremiah and Obadiah. So you can read those passages. Located in the southernmost region, biblical references are here. Later it became known as Idumea, okay, the name. They have connection with Israel. Later we come to that. Moab first, not just now. Moab has this Moabite inscription, also called Meshastel, discovered later in history, but then it can trace back to 880 BCE. And this Moabite king is recorded in 2 Kings in the Bible, talking about this Moabite king or whatever. But this stele discovered from the archaeological discovery actually confirm, okay, or maybe affirm the records of the Bible, saying that there is a place called Moabite. Okay, and the Bible is not simply written one, it has historical connection. It's just that it is so far from us. Now, how can you tell? All these Moabite style can actually affirm the writing at the time, although it's so far from us. Okay, so Moabite is here, so neighboring state. And Amorites, they took land originally belonging to Ammonites, and then defeated by Israel when King Sihon refused to let them pass. King Sihon is Amorites people. Okay, so Amorites is here, even further east. Okay, very fast, we all have notes. Ammonite, Ammonite is here, further up a bit on the north, on the east. And 2 Kings and Jeremiah mention about them. They have frequent conflicts with Israel. Okay, among these Bible references. And during Judah's fall, Ammonites were viewed as Israel's enemy. Okay, so Ammonite, and then Edom, Ammon, Moabite, all had connection, historical connection with Israel. Descendants of Esau, Edom, and then descendants of Lot and his daughter, Moab and Ammon. But then these countries, small nations, become the enemies of Israel over the years. More like enemies than relatives. Irony, huh? Okay, Bashan and Aram, we can actually read from here and there, although not much. Okay, so after the divided kingdom, that means Israel break into two. You can see all those neighbors: Edom, Moab, Ammon. Okay, all this. So they were never alone. When we read the Bible, the center, the focus always on God's people. But then how they deal with these neighbors, and also how they are affected by the superpower at the time. Actually, those are background. Can help us to have Christian reflection today, interaction with other nations. Today, our faith live out not among us internal sphere only. Our faith need to live out among the nations, to other people. God's message to his people at the time is still communicable to us today. Okay, but then we see how people of God failed in the past. They kowtow to a very strong nation. They are strong militarily speaking, but then they are also idol worshipper. But then because they are strong, for example, King Ahaz have to kowtow to them. That means have to say, "Oh, you are my savior." But then Prophet Isaiah is keep on reminding him, God is with us, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, right? Chapter 7, chapter 8, the book of Isaiah. So we can take home with our reflection also. Today, do we put our faith into this superpower or these powerful things rather than putting our faith in God? For example, technology or AI. Okay, do we still believe in God or not? He has power to solve this problem. And also, what does it mean by love your neighbor? Love your neighbors. Okay, love with what boundary? Okay, so we can have Christian reflections, or maybe question and answer session before we stop for break for 15 minutes. Are we supposed to have break today?
Yes.
Okay. Question first for this one. Okay, Daniel.
The next PPT is on OT, religions and worship. Okay, why we want to study that? Because we are not living in Old Testament time, and we also do not have the Solomon Temple, for example. We are living in a Christian way of worship, right? But we need to understand the roots, the foundation, the history, so that when come to worship today, we can grasp the important take home for us. Why worship matter? Why God commands His people to put so much effort on establishing a worship life as the center of their life? Okay, we can again Christian reflections after an hour of lecture. So let's say we aim 4:30 to be the Q&A session. Is that okay? All right. OT, worship, religions and worship. Israel, religious experience. What consequently? Israel religious experience is closely tied to its national history and significant events. National history, for example, the beginning of kingdom and the collapse of kingdoms. Significant events like Exodus. Okay, and all these things happen, reflect their encounter with God, reflect how God delivered them, for example, and also communicate their religious experience. So history and worship tie in together. All right. Consequently, the development of religion in the Old Testament became increasingly distinct as Old Testament history progressed. Okay, so we learn from the past. Okay, oh, what happened to the Hebrew? But we look at the notes. The notes never mistake, because of Hebrew fonts. I should put the picture in the future. Elohim in Hebrew written like this. No, this is Time New Romans or Arial already. Supposed to be Hebrew word. Elohim in Hebrew, it is on page 15. Elohim is one, the names of God. There are several, but we still believe in one God. Elohim is a term used in the Old Testament, often express God as creator, often express God as transcendent, means a bit far away. This is a term used for general revelation. Okay, general revelation meaning like creation, okay, non-Israelite references like the world, things under the sun, humankind. Okay, specific revelation as opposed to general revelation is more Israel-centered. That means special revelation. For example, Abraham, Sinai covenant, okay, and then election of God chosen people. Those are special revelation. So Elohim, on the contrary, is used whenever the biblical author want to talk about general revelation thing, creator, okay, and more transcendent, more aloof, okay, as opposed to another one. We come to Yahweh first. The next one, Yahweh is YHWH, the other way around, because Hebrew write from right to left. So YHWH, Adonai, pronounced as Adonai. Of course, we can pronounce as Yahweh lah. In the past, Jehovah lor. And you notice or not, Jehovah no longer exists in the New World Translation. The English New Translation is the Lord. L-O-R-D, capital letters. All 4 capital letters. You notice or not, slowly change on Jehovah is something in the past. So the Lord reflect the Hebrew rendering. We see YHWH, we will pronounce as Adonai, that means Lord. Okay, so English translation, the Lord lah. Unique name of God of Israel, special revelation. Okay, more imminent and intimate. It is a term, the name of God, used for God as more intimate, God of covenant. That means relationship is there. So you see or not, we are talking about same God now, but the term used to refer to God, Yahweh, is more intimate. In Exodus chapter 3, verse 14 to 15, okay, when Moses asked the Lord, what is your name? When people ask me, who is the God talking to you? What should I say? So remember, come from Egyptian background. He's actually asking which God from Egypt, Isis lah, Osiris lah. And then God say, I am who I am. That means no names. Supposed to be no names. Yeah, hey, I'm not the God whom you can name me, just like any Egyptian God, you know. So actually the background. Then I am who I am later become third masculine singular, become he is. I am who I am become he is who he will be, or something like that lah. Become third person. So the third person, the acronym become YHWH. And then people won't pronounce it as a name because it is blasphemous. Pronounced as the Lord. That means still Adonai. That means that it's not a name lah. It's not really a name, but then Lord. Okay, full of reverence. So Yahweh at root, the meaning is He is. Third person. Suppose first person in chapter 3 verse 14 to 15 Exodus is I am, first person. Okay, later on when people talk about I am, He is, become Yahweh. So the root of the name of the Lord. So when we use these two terms interchangeably, we can't tell the difference, right? But if you can intentionally differentiate the two, when you read the book of Psalm, for example, you can identify with the psalmist. Oh Lord, that's Adonai. Adonai, why have you forsaken me? Why didn't you come to my rescue? You know, the psalmist is questioning God, abandoning him, as if it is God's responsibility to take care of him. It is, because God, you are my God of covenant. You are Adonai, the God whom I make covenant with. That tells the difference, no? Okay, so when usually telling stories, narratives about Bible story, Elohim become more transcendent, more far away, because it's a general revelation term for God. Okay, so we use it interchangeably. So if you can't differentiate, it's okay. It's okay. Both terms are used to refer to God. Okay, and then we go back to the second one, El. Okay, El is also used for God. Okay, remember El Shaddai? Okay, one of the El in Canaanite religion. El is the supreme God. A Canaanite deity regarded as the chief of gods. Okay, the God who actually seated among the pantheon of gods. Canaanite religions, there are many younger gods. For example, Baal is very young, always standing one, always like that, always in action. You know how they depict their God? Is a God of action, like this. But then El is always sitting down, and then sometimes got beard one. I mean the archaeological drawing lah. Okay, and El, you see, all this language, Canaanite religion, have been adopted into the Bible. Remember, the psalmists were praising God. You are the God of gods. You are the Lord of lords. Psalm 136, verse 1 to 3. Okay, you are the God of gods, the Lord of lords. Wow, that means the rest are gods lah. But then God is like El lor. Okay, among other gods. Wow, all this expression, how to say, if we didn't study it carefully, we thought it is monotheism. This is not monotheism, because other deities are still gods, It's just that God is the supreme one. Israelite religion actually, progressed from this expression towards later state as monotheism. But all this, we do not need to pick side, monotheism, but then it is an expression of God's. Okay, El is also used in the Bible. Okay, often appears as a prefix in a compound names. For example, El Shaddai, El Elyon, the high God. Okay, and then Daniel. Just now I said Daniel. The El is always this El. Okay, meaning God. Okay, sometimes. In the Bible, in the Malay Bible, that's the Allah. That's the word for Allah. Okay? Right, but never mind, don't complicate the things. Okay, we look at the development of Israel religion. This one may shock you because we always believe the Bible talk about monotheism, right? It's a progression. Earlier among the patriarchs, the early religion, actually before Abraham was called, okay, and make a covenant with God, his descent become God chosen people. Abraham came from a background of polytheism. Joshua chapter 24 verse 2, we can read together. Okay, talk about Abraham's descendant worship many gods. Verse 2, chapter 24, the book of Joshua. Can we read together? 1, 2, 3.
Joshua said to all the people, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Long ago, your ancestors, including Terah, the father of Abraham and Nahor, lived beyond the Euphrates and worshipped other gods."
Okay, and then verse 14. Okay, together. Now,
Fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods of your ancestors, worship beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt, and serve the Lord.
so Abraham come from a background of believing many gods. His father, Terah, and then he was called to worship only one God. So from polytheism to henotheism, not monotheism yet, henotheism. Henotheism means the other deities are still gods, but not your God, because you have chosen to devote, to commit to just the Lord. Okay? So God is the Lord, Yahweh is the God of gods and the Lord of lords. So this expression are all henotheism expression. All right, let's read Psalm 95 verse 3. Someone read, if you can. Louder. Okay, I give you mic. Come.
For the Lord is a great God, the great King above all gods.
Okay. Great King above all gods. 96 verse 4. Anyone?
For great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods.
Okay, above all gods. All these expressions are actually everywhere in the Psalm, in the book of Psalm. 96 verse 4, and then 97 verse 9.
For you, Lord, are the most high over all the earth. You are exalted far above all gods.
Oh, okay, and etc., etc. All this expression, okay, reflect the early stage of Israel religion. They actually acknowledge there are many gods. The Canaanite has many gods, Baal, Asherah, Ashtaroth, but then those gods are not their gods because they have made a covenant, okay, to worship no other gods but Yahweh, the Lord lah. But then later on, later development, what happened that make them their religious experience and also the theological reflection have come to a more narrowing of the definition. Okay, that means no other gods, no other things, not even gods are mentioned, but only God is God. Other deities are not acknowledged as even divine being. Those are called idols, stones, woods. Okay, because of what happened. Okay, we read some of the Bible verse first. All these are in the Bible. The book of Isaiah chapter 44 and verse 6. Can we read together? Can we read together? 1, 2, 3. Thus says the Lord.
Israel's King and Redeemer, the Lord Almighty. I am first and I am last. Apart from me, there is no God.
Why there is a note beside the no God? No other God? There is a note beside telling you about other passages. Some translation, they will use underline or ... underneath the word no God, right? If you read Chinese translation, you know what I mean. Beside me, there is none. That's all. That's Hebrew. The no God, the word God is actually inserted, added to make it, how to say, appear to be meaningful lah. Because it's talking about no other God ma. But then in the original language, Hebrew, besides me there is none. That means not even want to use the word God for all these deities, you know. Okay, and verse 8, together, do not fear. Okay, have I not told you? I know not one. Okay, I know there is no any other gods. All this declaration, for example, in verse 8 and also chapter 45. Okay, we can see suddenly the declaration, their religious experience is narrowed a bit. That means no more reflections of henotheism. They don't want to acknowledge other deities as divine. What happened? In the book of Isaiah, this chapter are later. Okay, it tells of the exilic experience. They have been taken into exile. They saw the worship in Babylon, where the idols are being worshipped. Okay, so when they go back, when they return, they rebuild their theology as well. Okay, and then their view of God become narrow a bit and give birth to monotheism. So monotheism is a later development. But then we are not choosing side, whether we use henotheism or monotheism. We believe in the monotheistic God. Okay, it's just that some of us come from folk religion background, or maybe other religion. We are converted into Christianity. You understand what I mean? Sometimes we need to have the mindset of henotheism in order to evangelize. Because many Christians, they use monotheism, the framework, to evangelize, and then referring to other gods, it's like, this is not God. These are wood, idols. We call idol, all this. But then it does not work, sometimes, many times, does not work. But if we use this framework, henotheism, you acknowledge the existence of their gods, but you preach Jesus Christ, you preach the God of Bible, and then somehow you can close the case of evangelism. That means we can convince the person to believe in Jesus. Okay, one person I know of is Apostle Paul. Remember, he was in Athens, okay, and then he saw many people are so religious, worship many gods, and there's one God called unknown God. Remember? And then when he has the chance to speak to the people, okay, and then he talked about, wow, I can see you're so religious. There is a God whom you do not know. Now I'm going to preach the God to you. Wow, he's very daring, coming from that background. He's actually using the framework of henotheism, acknowledging their religiosity and also their devotion, but then using that as a stepping stone to preach Jesus. Okay, although we all understand, we only believe in Jesus, there's one God, but he used the framework to evangelize. That's the way I think, it's very indicative and a reminder to all of us, especially in Malaysia. Okay, sharing the gospel, we need to not embrace. We need to have this mindset, wider framework. Okay, within the Christian circle, we're all monotheistic, no problem. All right, okay one. But then when we go back to our neighborhood, to family, some of our families are non-believers, especially people like me, conversion from non-Christian background. In my early years, when I talk to my father, I talk about, because from young I don't like the folk religion, cultural practice. So many pantang larang, and then I'm a seeker. I'm a truth seeker. I keep asking questions, why cannot do that? Why New Year, Chinese New Year cannot sweep the floor? Okay, and then I don't believe I sweep and I kena marah, So I have all this kena marah thing, and then they cannot answer my question. Just believe lah, But then later on I found my answer, so I believe in Jesus. And then I talked to my father, hey, those are idols, Those are dead things. I use a monotheistic framework, right, to speak about gospel, speak about Bible. Cannot lah, my father could not accept. Later, many years, he became Christian. Not because of my evangelistic preaching. It's because of some other people who share the gospel. Because he was at his sick bed also. He is already gone home to be with the Lord. He believed in Jesus. Not because of my evangelistic movement, but some other things. So, you see, today, when we share the gospel, of course, we believe in a monotheistic religion, one God. But then we are living in Malaysian context. Okay, we have many non-believers, friends. How we testify to people our God, how effective it is depend on what framework we use. Okay, from Abraham to Israel, Okay, to later development, we already know there is a progression of religious belief. And because of the context, they have to be very firm. No more interaction with other religions. Because of the past interactions, their nation fell. Okay? And their ancestors failed God. Okay? And then they invite idolatry and then collapse. So they tighten their belief. They tighten the boundary. So what you read from Isaiah 44, especially chapter 44, you read until the end. The absurdity of idol worship. Chapter 44 verse 9. All who make idols are nothing, and the things they delight in do not profit. Their witnesses neither see nor know, so they will be put to shame. Who fashioned a god or cast an image that can do no good? And etc. You read further until verse 20, it's all mockery to idol worship. And all this happened during the exile, because they were taken into Babylonian territory, and they saw idol worship, and then they come up with this mockery and then dislike towards worshipping other gods. So when they return to their homeland, they rebuild their religion, suddenly become very strictened, okay? Their belief in God, which is a good thing lah. It spells out boundary, but it doesn't tell us from the beginning it is monotheism. From the very beginning, it's very loose expression of worship. For example, Jacob, he dreamt about the ladder, okay, going to the heaven. He named the place Bethel, okay, that means house of God. He saw angels walking up and down. So usually they will name a place after God. Bethel, El is God, Beth is house of God lah. And then, how to say, anoint the place, erect stones. That's their expression of religion lah. But that's before Moses' time lah. Moses' time, the establishment of worship institutionalized it into tabernacle, right? Sacrifice, but no human sacrifice, because at the time many people human sacrifice ma. So human life is important, okay? But animal can be used as substitute. So those are the time where worship are more defined in the history of religion, in the Bible. Religious experience and the image of God. The 10 Commandments warn the Israelites not to make carved images. Okay? And that explains why the Israelite, even until now, the Israel people, they are not good in art and also craving. How to say? Craving. Thank you. They are good in metaphysics, science, medicine, but then they are not good in arts. And then those people in idol worship nations, they are good in arts. Did you see the connection or not? Okay, but then interestingly, Solomon Temple import artisan craftsmanship from Tyre and Sidon, where idol worship are rampant. Okay, making the temple. Old Testament literature frequently uses anthropomorphic. It's difficult. Okay, that means become anthropos. Anthropos is human. Become human, that kind of imagery to portray God. For example, God as a warrior, Exodus chapter 15. God as a judge or king. God as a shepherd, Psalm 23. God as a mother in labor, Isaiah 42. A God like a mother, not just father and all this gender inclusive is interesting. And Proverbs 8 and 9, a woman of wisdom, is actually talking about wisdom, okay, but become a feminine imagery. So all this signifying God's wisdom, all this imagery are human-like. We call it personification, personify. Okay, we have 10 commandments saying no, cannot make carved image, but then we have biblical imageries, literature full of images. Interesting, so the history of Israel religious development. Okay, we can progress from different period, from patriarchal as a start. The patriarchal period, religious experience involve naming God. All these are from the Bible. Genesis 14:18, El Elyon, meaning God Most High. And then Genesis 31, El Bethel, God of the house of God, God of Bethel. And then Genesis 17, El Shaddai. Genesis 21, El Olam, the eternity God or everlasting God. Genesis 16, El Roi. Interestingly, this one is from Hagar, the God who sees. El Roi, the God who sees me. Isaiah 9:6, El Gibor, mighty God, like a mighty warrior. Okay, or human imagery to talk about God. Okay, and the preliminary expression of worship, they erect stones, okay, to name the place and then erect stones. Didn't say about writing anything because in Israel there are many stones, big one. Then they erect and then sometimes become a monument, okay, ancient time monument. In the places where God appeared to human character, the Bible character, it always mentioned about trees. Genesis chapter 12, 13, 14, always mentioned about trees. So later when in the tabernacle, when they have these elements of worship, they also have menorah. Menorah, the shape is like a tree, right? So all these connections are interesting. And at those periods in Genesis, they don't have a worship system being spelled out and defined by Moses yet. So sometimes you can see household idols, appear. For example, Genesis 31. Okay, Rachel, stole the idol. So those are patriarchal period. They're expression of worship, very much like ancient China also, ancient maybe other places as well. They have this, all these small carved image are visible. Well, believing in a God which is unseen is difficult, right? But this is our faith, Lord. Sometimes we just use something to remind us. So participating in Holy Communion actually remind us we are having interaction, relationship with God. Okay, sometimes we like to wear the cross, reminding us of Jesus' cross. We want something visible to express the invisible. So for people in the past, using visible things is easier to remind people or to communicate their religious belief. So now come to Mosaic period. Moses as the mediator of Israel religion. Mediator only. Okay. He is a political leader, Moses, and also a religious leader. Okay, remember, Moses, he actually knows how to fight in battle. Remember, he was trained as prince in the first 40 years. Okay, and then mediator of God's salvation and law. So usually we will see Moses with his tablet, not Samsung tablet, but the tablet of 10 Commandments. Okay, so Mosaic tradition, after the name Moses, is the foundation of Israel faith. So it tells us why the first 5 books, Pentateuch, the Torah we call it, so important. Always have to do with Moses. And a form in the wilderness and worship centered around the ark and the tabernacle. Okay, so the tabernacle of Moses, okay, develop or appear in the wilderness and is foldable, movable, is mobile. Okay, you can fold it, keep it, but then God gives specific instruction, or even layer by layer. We want to look at one video. Can play the video or not? It's actually a 1 minute plus video about Tabernacle of Moses. Got sound? The sound is not here. Ui. shit. Okay, stop. Thank you. So the link to this video is also in your note. You can copy and then view yourself. Can I ask a question? This is like for the Israelite at the time, at the Mount Sinai. To them, this is something new. Okay? To us, it's like we read about it. Okay, we are familiar. But then, what is so important for them? This new way of worship. Why is it so important for God people at that time, after Exodus, after Egypt episode? Why God need to tell them how to worship? Don't they know? They already know what? How to worship, right? Want to try? Okay. Hey, where's the mic? Someone please help pass the mic around. You raise your hand, the mic will come. Interaction.
In case they forget about God.
In case they forget about God, okay. In case they forget about God, but they thought.
Deviate into it. So God is showing them the covenant. This is what.
Okay. To remind people of their covenant. Okay, sister.
They're not worshipping any idols.
In order that they do not worship the Egypt way.
Yeah.
Remember how many gods they have? More than hundreds of God, right? And this God, there is no other God beside me. God is telling them the 10 Commandments, and using this way, God's way, instruct them. This is the way of worship that will please me. Okay, but unlike in the past, what you saw in Egypt, you worship that type of worship, including sacrifice, all these superstitions. Those are in the past. But then you are my people, holy nation, and priest. Wow, this declaration in Exodus chapter 19 is very, projection of their future identity. They not yet have a nation. They are a group of slaves come out from Egypt. And then priests, they do not have priests. System. The system is not there yet. All right? But then God is declaring, projecting their holy nation, priestly kingdom. Wow, it's very important, right? God is reshaping their identity, and worship in this way, new way, not the Egyptian way. Okay? They forgot about God already. They forget. That's why God have to keep reminding Moses, tell them it's the God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, come to your rescue. Keep reminding all this repetition. Okay, so pillar of cloud and pillar of fire lead their way in the wilderness. New way of worship, and people can use sacrifice. Those are the ancient time. We no longer use that sacrifice. To us, it's a new development, sacrifice of praise in different form. At the time, sacrifice in the ancient Near Eastern, especially Canaanite religion, and also in Egypt, in the wilderness, human sacrifice it could be common. But then God already draw the boundary for animal sacrifice, not human sacrifice, because life is precious. Okay, then we come to the period of the judges. Okay, period of judges. This pillar of cloud and fire, and how the tabernacle is in the center, okay, of the 12 tribes, and then Mount Sinai, and then pillar of cloud. You can see, this picture tells us worship is in the center of His people. Is worship the center of our life today? Okay, so at the foot of Mount Sinai, God is telling them the new system of worship, and also tell them the new way of worship. Worship should occupy the center of their daily lives. Of course, then at the 6th day, they have to stop and then focus on worship. No working and nothing, but then only worship. And then after that, returning to work, returning to the job, but knowing that God is still in the center. So this once a week reminder. That's why we come to church once a week, reminding us we are people of God. Worship is the center of our life, even the center of our work. Okay, we are called to be His people. All this reminder. Okay, in my table here, I have one book. Later you can come and flip through. Interesting depiction, display of the layer, different layer, 4 layer of the tabernacle of Moses. Okay, 4 layer, that means you can see one by one. Badger skins or fine leathers, the first layer. That means the most outside one. That means the water cannot go through. Okay, badger skins. This is how many layer already? Okay, wait. We see first layer, and then ram skin, second layer, and then wool, third layer, fine linen, and then later on it's the what do you call that? It's the wooden thing, make up a banner to circle around the holy place, and then inside there's menorah, and also the incense altar, and also the showbread table, and the Holy of Holies where the Ark of Covenant is. Okay, in this picture, all taken from this book, The Rose Guide to the Tabernacle. They have many guides to many other things. Okay, it's a good thing, good material for us to teach, especially in the Bible study and also Sunday school. I even teach that in seminary. I show them. See, layer by layer. Okay, it's in the center. Okay, some of the pictures taken from here. So, coverings of the tabernacle, it tells us the worship place is to be protected, and also it is important how we approach this place. The space has a boundary where only the holy place is approachable by priests, and the Holy of Holies approachable by the high priest. So it tells us the boundary has important significance. Okay, not just anybody. You have to be cautious. And that also reminds us today we come to the church, okay, to God's assembly, worship. How should we, embrace the dress code, for example? We are not in the Old Testament time, but then it reminds us, are we attending a casual meeting or pasar malam, walk around, or are we worshipping the King of Kings? So how we dress reflect our attitude, isn't it? So the place of worship is heavily guarded. Wow, so careful. Tell them not chin chai one, 4 layer, and those materials are not daily easy to find materials. Perhaps they have to trade from the barter system in the past in order to get the badger skin, all these things. This is from another website. How the 12 tribes circle around the tabernacle of Moses in the center, and it's like military layout. And some scholars, when they study Ramesses' army, okay, go for battle, it's almost like this, except he doesn't have the tabernacle. That means he's always in the alert to fight, okay, against the enemy. Today, when we read the New Testament, they tell us, wow, the evil one is like roaring lion, looking for people who can devour, right? So it's like that, in vigilant. It also tell us in our daily walk with Christ, in vigilant. Temptations are everywhere. The danger. Period of the Judges, Canaanite worship of El and other gods. El as a king, symbolized as a bull, sometimes also symbolized as someone who sits on the throne. Baal is a younger god under El, worshipped locally in various forms with various names. Baal Berith, Baal Zebub, Baal Shamayim, Alian, Baal, all got Baal one. Even whose name? Gideon's name, he is given a nickname called, what Baal? Jerubbaal. Okay, I'm looking at Jerubbaal, because he tear down Baal's temple, the altar of Baal, he tear down, so he was given a nickname. And then when the people of God, they enter the Canaan land, they enter this period of Judges, they saw syncretism, synchronize happening between their religion with Canaanite religion. Okay, fertility worship, temple prostitution. I mentioned a little bit last week, right? Some of them embrace names that incorporate Baal's name. Okay, Judges chapter 6, for example, Zerubbabel. Okay, and then household altars, Judges 17. It happens in the household of Israel people. That means God's people. Slowly, altar, pagan worship, idolatry, how to say, influence the way of life when they get into the Canaan land, the promised land. Sometimes we think that when we finally reach the promised land, wow, we all will worship God wholeheartedly, right? Oh, hallelujah. But then the temptation is so great. Okay, what are the things so attractive to them in the promised land? What is the thing that Baal worship can become a temptation to them? I mentioned a little bit last week, right? Prosperity, thank you, very good. Bigger temple, yeah, everything is like so big, and their Ark of Covenant is so small. You can see the difference. And also success, harvest. All these are very, very attractive. So God's people are easily influenced by the culture, local culture. Okay, today we talk about materialism, consumerism, the culture of success, all this success narrative.
At that time, was it supposed to be the promised land?
Yeah, supposed to be the promised land, and then
That's why they went.
they thought it is promised lands.
And they went all berserk about, doing other things.
Thank you. They thought this is the promised land, no? They thought these things are the package of promised land without knowing it's a temptation, it's a trap, right? They need to discern, not to say being success is idolatry, no, but then it becomes an attraction where it can divide the devotion of God's people. Okay, very good, huh? So we thought, wow, this is God's blessing. So at the end, what happened? Syncretism. Okay, and then, wow. This is Baal, okay, always standing with hammer, one hand, another hand, thunder. Okay, and then during the period of Judges, places of worship is still there, remembering God. This place called Bethel, Gilgal, Ophrah, Genesis, Joshua, Judges, okay, are still very active. They have altars to remember, because they don't have a temple yet at the time. So the Ark of Covenant was still among them, but being kidnapped also once. And then after that is monarchy period, where the worship becomes centralized, and then the king become enforcer, promoter of temple worship, meaning God's worship, Yahweh worship. The former altars became illegitimate, although still being used by some people, discovery. And then religious developments continue, the division of kingdom, northern kingdom, southern kingdom. Your page 18, northern kingdom, okay, 10 tribes, golden calves established at Bethel and Dan. That's how the northern kingdom established their foundation of religion. 2 golden calves, one at the north, the other at the south. And then it was declared, this is the God who lead us out of Egypt. So they already twisted the second commandment, right? And became center of syncretistic worship, and also become the center of prophetic rebuke and oracles. So Israel kingdom. And southern kingdom, archaeological evidence of pagan altars and temples. That means still got people worship other gods, pagan altars. Worship in Jerusalem was not absolute. That means not say compulsory. They just encourage people to come once, three times a year. People go to Jerusalem, worship becomes centralized. And Judah's king were involved in idolatry, they're supposed to be the representation of, promoter of Yahweh worship, but they also become idol worshipper. Okay, Ahaz is one of them. He copied down Hezekiah's father. He copied bulat now we say, copy totally the Damascus worship, which is the Assyrian worship, and then bring back and then implement in the southern kingdom. Okay, so you see, kings, their heart also went astray. Prophetic condemnation, okay, was how to say, words after words, generation after generations, because of idolatry. Okay, people ask them to repent and return. Religious reforms happen, even post-exilic, they try to make it right. Okay, so that's why their worship become very tight. Okay, so a little bit about, still got one page of Chinese, just delete it, I forgot to do it. So this is the Jerusalem worship. Okay, we have this Ark of Covenant, not new, because in the tabernacle of Moses, we already have the Ark of Covenant. All right, so you see Joshua and then Judges, and then 1 Samuel, Jerusalem worship, we still have this. And the meaning of Ark of Covenant is God's presence. It is actually God's throne. Okay, the two seraphim. Okay, it's very funny how to sit, right? It is perhaps Western imagination of the Ark of Covenant. Archaeological finding, however, saying the two cherubim, is actually on the side. That means the handle where the king can put their hand. Okay, but then still the wing can still link to each other. It's a throne. Okay, so this is Western depiction. The Ark of Covenant always symbolize the presence of God, and it is not very tall. It is actually like this. Okay, 1.1 meter times 0.7 meter. So it's like this. Okay, so you see the real person standing beside the high priest. Only the high priest can go to the Holy of Holies, right? And then there's no light, no menorah in the Holy of Holies, but then God's presence, the source of light. Okay, inside the Ark of Covenant, three things. What are the three things? The tablets, Aaron's staff, and a bowl of manna, right? Okay. And then the temple, when we talk about temple, it's not the Indian or Chinese temple. It's always Jerusalem temple. That means the sanctuary. It has Ark of Covenant, golden altar, showbread, golden lampstand. All these elements, they have special meaning. Okay, although these things, they do not exist anymore, but it carries different meaning. For example, altar of sacrifice. People bring animals to do what at the time? Okay, to make a manna. Okay, this is the things that we can give God a sacrifice, and then in place of the punishment, but then forgiveness of sin, thank you, and then wash basin, bronze sea, wash hand, cleansing, and today we come to the Lord's table. We acknowledge our waywardness, right? And then we ask for forgiveness, and then light. Some of the churches now, they still use candle. Actually, it has meaning. Become source of light, and also remind us we are the light of the world. Okay, and etc. Okay, all these things in the tabernacle of Moses and in the Solomon temple, always the front is east. You remember? So this is the front, and then bronze, the altar, and then this one is the what do you call that again? Bronze sea or wash basin, and then holy place have three things: menorah, showbread table, and also the incense altar. And then inside Holy of Holies is the Ark of Covenant. Okay, this is the Old Testament worship from Moses' time to Jerusalem worship. Besides that, they also have worship and sacrifices, burnt offering, peace offering, sin offering. All these are telling us worship is important, And inside the worship, they have this offering, giving to God, okay, to continue to establish relationship with God, because sometimes human may fail because of weakness, because of sin. We still have ways to re-establish the relationship, okay. We can always go back to God. Do not stay in waywardness for too long, okay. That is a way. So God always give the way backward, returning to Him. God always gives second chance. Religious leaders in the Old Testament worship, look at your page 18, priests, Levites, prophets, kings, wise men and scribes. Especially the fifth one, wise men and scribes, always forgotten one. They are also religious leaders and all. Because they are together with the kings, okay, they give their wise pointers, their wisdom to the kings. Sometimes they are being heard, but sometimes they are not, they are despised. Scribes, to write down the words of wisdom, to write down the teaching, educators of faith. So we see all these groups of religious leaders have different functions as an expression of Old Testament worship. And today, we need to have all this in our worship as well. We are playing the role of Levites, for example. You're the usher, worship enablers. You are actually playing the roles of Levites. You are choir member, okay? Prophets, preacher, preach. Prophets is the person who preach, speak God's word on behalf of God. So the pastors, the preachers, kings, managers of the kingdom. I mean, at the time, manager. That means it's the LCEC members, the leaders of the church. All right, a priest, the pastor, a wise men and scribes, any teacher, Sunday school teacher, okay, even pastors can give wise pointer to people. So today we also can find its meaning in our life. So you see, there are labor-intensive activities involving around the priestly duty at the court outside. You see, all these are labor-intensive. They collect the woods. And then burnt offering, you need to, you need stir it up, and then the old one being put away, and then the new one coming in, and then slaughter animals, pray and then slaughter, and then blowing a trumpet, and then inside, it is also from this book, the Rose Guide. Inside, I have to keep the menorah burning. You need to replenish the oil. Okay, and then you need to change the showbread, and then also the incense, not the Chinese type, long one is the stick one is actually like a stone. Need to keep changing. So, in the book of Exodus and also Deuteronomy, remember there are laws that tells about those who are physically challenged. Okay. They should not do this work. You understand what does it mean or not? Really understand or not? The text did not say those who are physically challenged, for example, those are on wheelchair, they cannot be the priest. It is not saying that. It is saying those people who are from Levite tradition, they are still Levites. You don't expect them to do this. They can do the clerical thing, but not the labor intensive. They are still Levite, You just change your duty. So actually it's from the book of law, it is actually a protection to the marginalized people. It is actually full of grace and mercy. And we always thought the book of law prohibit people from doing that because of, they're like disqualifying them. I'm talking about the disabled people. God did not disqualify, it's human disqualifying them. Because we read the Bible wrongly. The book of Torah is supposed to be merciful. Love your neighbor means you understand. And then you understand the people, and then you actually give way. Go around with their weakness, and then still embracing as a community of God. Okay? Labor intensive. Festivals, because of 2 calendars. Festival is very important in the Israel worship. Why is there always festivals? People of God want to come together to do what? Worship, very good. First and foremost, right? Worship and also community fellowship and also give offering, sacrifice. That means as a group, as a family. Okay? From Old Testament to New Testament, faith involves the whole family. It's not individual choice. We like to say when when I believe in Jesus, I believe that Jesus and I accepted the Lord become my personal savior, right? We like to say that, no? The personal savior is not in the Bible one. In the Bible it said, believe in the Lord Jesus, you and your family, your household will be saved. It's supposed to be the whole family from Old Testament to New Testament. So personal savior one is from Western, our Western missionary, right? It is like your personal choice. But then community, the sense of community is so important. So in festival, people of God come together. We go through the festival together. It has religious meaning. It also important as people of God, community of saints. Whatever important things in a year, we always give thanks to God. And this is such an important reminder. During those New Years, for example, Chinese New Year Eves or Chinese New Year, do you realize it is difficult to keep devotion and to keep life of worship? Because we are so busy with preparing food, okay, going through the festival, so busy. It is so difficult, especially for people like me. Only me at the time was the Christian. I am the only Christian in the family, and then so it is so difficult when your parents and your siblings are not going to the church on the first day of Chinese New Year. Also, busyness, we all come together, prepare. So I find it very difficult to keep devotion and worship. And then some Chinese people, they like to gamble during Chinese New Year, and that's my family also lah. But I'm not involved. That's why I don't like the way of life. As a non-Christian like that, so I'm drawn to Christianity a lot. So when people preach the gospel to me, I can easily, because I'm already say, yeah, I like the church life. When I pass through this church, I so admire from outside. When can I go in, become one of them? I was like this, truth seeker. So waiting for people to preach gospel to me. Okay, why I go to that? Okay, 2 calendars, Passover. Okay, during the exile.
show you are human.
To show I'm human, Okay, exile. During the exile, the people of God do not worship, is it? They still worship lah. Okay, loss of temple, loss of Davidic monarchy, no longer have kings. Loss of independence, loss of religious leadership, everything is lost. Even temple is lost, So how? They scattered around also. They ran away to Egypt. They were taken to Babylon. So responses to the exile, lament, communicating of their bitterness and their shocking reaction. How can it happen? Lamentation, how it starts. Chapter 1, verse 1. How can it be? In Hebrew, it's like, how can it be? It's like very, shock, in shock. Mana boleh, macam ini. The house of God is destroyed. And meaning what, to ancient people? That means our God is loose, Over to Marduk, Babylonian God. To them, they tie in political and religion. Okay, they see God as enemy, like lamentation. Why is God doing that to us? Okay, they questioning God. Also lead to repentance and confession. They also have limited religious practice, display in Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel. Religious life still maintained, but no longer centered upon Jerusalem worship. Rise of synagogues. Why? They gather together, read God's words. Okay, that's the only thing that they can do. They cannot do sacrifice, There's no temple, no priest. Okay, recording historical lesson. They keep writing. Hope for salvation, restoration, And then later on, when Persian come, they can go home. Not everyone return. The rest, they still stay back. Can we speculate why? Why people don't want to go home after 50 years, 70 years in the foreign land? Become rich. Wow, very good. Become rich, why? Well, very good. Yeah. The Jewish people become very good traders, okay, and successful is during the exile. Many people believe they are the best businessmen. They always make money one. Don't know why.
That's why he Hitler.
Okay, so besides being successful, why people don't want to go home?
Comfort.
Comfortable. Okay, getting comfort zone.
Going back is actually like going to a place that is not undeveloped, desert and all that. So they have to start building again.
Yeah, start building, and you're so established already. Okay, and also maybe to them home is not there, lor. Why are you still here, not in China or India? I mean, we ask ourselves lah. To me, home is here. Although I'm not 70 years old, right? My grandfather's time we came. Never my home is here. So to their people at the time also the same. Also, now I ask the other question. Then why some people go home? Why some return? Scholars also give their reasonings.
Yes.
Why do you think some of them return? Although very few. Huh? They are the poor ones. Yes, they want to try their luck at the other place. Yes, it is true. The scholars also say that. Okay.
Rebuild the temple.
They want to rebuild.
Led by God.
Led by God. Okay. Somehow people still feel that is my home. Roots. Longing for origin. Very sounds like my mother. My mother, maybe during her childhood time, her father, that means my grandfather, always tell her, when you are older, I bring you back to our home. So it's like so nostalgic for her. So when she was, one time when she has the chance to travel to China, to her it's like, oh, I'm coming back to my homeland. And I look at her, what homeland? To her it's homeland, to me it's like foreign place. So it's so different, just one generation. So some people are like that, homecoming. Okay, never mind home. Okay, so not everyone returned. Esther didn't return. Mordecai didn't return, right? It becomes so established. They have their responsibility. Okay, but then those return are Ezra, Nehemiah, Zerubbabel. They have their mission also. So you see, mission. What is your purpose? Returning or going? So today when we think about migration, we think about this way. The Hong Kong churches, because of COVID, and also earlier because of the political happenings, China take over, take back, so many people waves of migration. And then the church, seminaries, they have to have this theological reflection, okay, and then also a call for people to stay back, okay. For some of them, their theological reflection is that, hey, if they have the calling to stay back, they hold the fort, okay, and rebuild church. So many things to rebuild in Hong Kong nowadays. Because of the recent happening, the church is actually testifying to the Lord, especially social movement. It's very advanced, very strong, but then it's not backslided, okay, because of the new government. And then those who have migrated, find new purpose. They have to survive, survive safely, in a sense. They have to find a calling, okay. So post-exilic worship, temple rebuild. Wow, so long-winded, Okay, second temple construction, and then hero renovation, and then the religious development between the Testament. We can just read, I just want to show you our last. Theology of the temple. Temple is the place where God sits on the throne, okay, where God's people worship Him. It's a sign of divine election. That's in the Old Testament because He chose Jerusalem. Temple is necessary Okay, but the ark could be lost, the temple could be destroyed, Jerusalem could fall. Still, God's people can still worship. Nothing can stop us from worship. After we have gone through COVID, we know that, right? Our home become our church. Our home become a place of prayer and worship. Okay, so this is a tabernacle from the Sinai. Okay, during the wandering, and then Solomon temple after they have kingdom, and then place of worship, and then exile, and then come back, Zerubbabel temple rebuilt, and then during the intertestamental period, also during Jesus' time is the Herod's temple, even grandeur, mightier, wider. You want to guess which one used the longest? One more time, ah? Ding, 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 ding. Okay, which one used the longest, historically speaking? Tabernacle used during wilderness, 40 years. Okay? And then after that is Solomon temple, used during Solomon's period, and also the kingdom period lah. Zerubbabel is after return, no? Very simple one. Even whether got Ark of Covenant also don't know, because never mentioned ma. Okay, or the most expensive, the grandest, this one. Okay, which one is used the longest? Oh wow, wow! All kind of questions, all kind of answers, ah. Why you say the tabernacle, ah? Only 40 years, ma. But then when they enter into the promised land, no longer tabernacle, ma. It's only the Ark of Covenant, no? Right?
Which one? This one, Solomon temple or Herod's temple?
Of course, the most expensive one is Herod's temple, lah. Herod the Great is a builder, ma. He built everything. Every road leads to Roman. He built library, palace, and libraries and temple. Which one used the shortest? You want to guess? Solomon's temple used during... actually used the shortest is Herod's temple. The most expensive. Even during Jesus' time, it's still being rebuilt. Being built. And then, in the year of 70 AD, demolished totally. It not even used 70 years. So, do we have any reminders or not? Anything that shake us now? Do we need to spend so much on building sanctuary? Okay. Actually, when I compare, I say, wow, such a great reminder to us. So, a simple place of worship like Zerubbabel temple can last. Okay. Reflections. Also question and answer lah. Biblical worship, Christian worship, post-COVID worship. What do we want to share from what we learn? From what I know, God wants us to have a place of worship, together as God's people to worship Him. Okay, He even laid down the boundary, the way of worship that is pleasing Him. Okay, today we don't have this Old Testament worship, we don't have incense lah, or this Ark of Covenant with us lah, but we embrace those meanings, God's presence, source of light, okay, and then our sacrifice of praise and our offering, we still have this significance with us. Today, biblical worship reminds us we do not copy the, literally, verbatim, word for word, have to erect all these things. But because of New Testament time, Jesus came and then He become Word incarnate. He become God with us, okay, and then reshape our understanding of worship. And then later on, when Paul he teach and preach about worship, he actually give another layer of new approach of meaning, saying that we are the temple and Holy Spirit is living in us. So that means today we gather together Okay, we do not have all these elements, menorah, all this, but then we are one temple. Remember when Paul talked about we are the temple, it's just singular, Not many temples here, it's just one. That means all the community form one temple. That means the gathering of saints, God's people, is the place of worship. We need not rely on these elements anymore, need not. Even in the New Testament time, right? So today we worship as God's people. Festival, we come together, we give thanks, we give sacrifice, that's why we give offering, and also we testify for God, we glorify God. So Christian worship today is significantly reshaped after the New Testament and also Paul's teaching. And post-COVID worship, anybody want to share anything? Do you have the results of post-COVID scenario? Many people experience that, where young people don't want to come to church anymore. Or maybe not just young people. Huh?
Online worship.
Still have Yeah. Your church still have
Oh,
okay. Oh, God or no? Oh, we have more than one church, is it? Because you say God, no more, No more, Oh, okay.
Just the link of message. Posting of the message for today. Not live.
It's not that.
No streaming.
No, okay. All right. So during COVID, how did you survive? In terms of, we cannot see each other, At the time, we miss each other so much, right?
That time we had online.
Yeah, that time we have to. We find our ways to still worship together, although I don't know how to do prayer meeting during Zoom, but we still do because we can't come to church. Okay? Anything you want to question or you want to interact? We have 10 minutes. In me, the end of the world is coming. And I'm so afraid that no food, the food chain will be cut. Wow, that's the most terrifying thing I can imagine at the time. Oh, no food. Okay, pray like mad at the time. We survived those times, but then when I think back, it's like, those desperate times also push us to go to God. Okay, and that place in the hall, not hall, is the, what do you call 客厅? The living area become our sanctuary. Okay, only two of us. Okay, and I find that many people are like that too during the time. Every day, not just every week. So much fear. What about you? You can share and your take home, your reflection. Hey, come. Yeah, you can share.
We couldn't go anywhere.
Use the mic so that we can hear you.
That's the time I gather all my children and whole family, open the Bible. I say, let's start. Genesis, the whole Testament, Old Testament.
You become the pastor at the time, right?
We just read and then I have the concordance and whatnot.
Wow.
Okay. So this guy has
what?
a base.
So good, You enjoy those time? Wow, very good, successful.
Thank God.
So reading the Bible.
Actually, in today's church in this country, it's not a formal church that's growing fastest. There's non-licensed, illegal churches, and I think that's the biggest one there.
Wow, very good. Yeah, I agree with you. Those not named, and many of them are foreign workers, right? Even orang asli, even converts from the dominant religion. They are growing the fastest. Yeah, correct. Like Zerubbabel temple, right? Looks so simple, but then can use so long.
God is telling us, make it simple.
But so simple, but also the important ingredients must be there, Okay. When you look back at COVID time, what actually struck you the most? Because something like exile, you know, at the time I was like, oh, I experienced something like exilic experience, where we cannot go to the church. The church has to close the door. And at the time, our seminary is being rebuilt, you know, bigger, but then we cannot go to seminary. Okay, so it like make me rethink, wow, all this hardware, okay, concrete buildings, sometimes put to no use for a period of time. We are talking about 2 years at a time. A church, okay, your reflection.
Fear of death.
Fear of death?
Death, because quite a few pastors have passed away during that time. So my sister will say, times are bad, you know, you have to pray.
Life become precious.
Yes.
Yeah, we suddenly like, wow. And did you realize when those time when you can quickly go back to workplace, you're allowed to go back to your workplace, you miss your colleague so much. This colleague, you may not like it in the past. You may not like him or her in the past. But then say, oh, so good to see you.
Still alive.
Really, you know, I said, oh yeah, I did not even like him. I said, wow, so good to see you. You're still alive. I mean, it's really a genuine one. Okay, we miss people. And then we cannot live by ourselves. I noticed that we are really, how to say, we need interaction. We need a community. That's my greatest. Also, I have never felt so alone before. And so, how to say, hopeless. Even I use the word hopeless. So busy. Every day morning, okay, Zoom, teaching, and then Zoom. Wow! And after that, so tired already next day again. So, sunrise, sunfall, and then sunrise. Every day like that. I said, where got hope one? Because I don't see people, electronic people only. I cannot go on with life like this. So when we can go back, return to work on site, you know, meeting together in the church, and teaching on site, real people, not on the wall one, not on the screen one. I enjoy that the most. Okay, Mike, over there. Thank you.
Just a thought, not really post-COVID, but in current times, I would call it maybe post-AI or current AI.
Oh, post-AI already? Wow, okay. Okay. Current AI, okay.
So how do you think it would affect worship from the new generation?
Oh, very good. Oh, yeah, very good. Because we're talking about worship and then AI worship. What do you think? Can you accept AI preacher? The face. Wow. But we can accept AI announcement. Many churches are using announcement. Wow, got female and male voice one, you know. Yeah, next Saturday we are getting this get together, birthday party. Wow, very nice, very good English. Sorry.
We won't get there.
Some churches are already using that. I really cannot tahan, you know.
But I guess it's more the wrong usage of AI, because I see a lot online where AI is used to tell quote-unquote Bible lessons, but we don't know how to, and so discernment is very important.
Yes, discernment. Remember, the worship is always worship God. So if let's say AI, sometimes we interact with AI, help us to do research. Okay, I use AI, ChatGPT to translate, because I use bilingual. My material in Chinese I used to translate in English. In the past I used Google. So ChatGPT, wow, very fast. But I need to correct it. Well, I have to remind myself, I cannot rely on this too much, because human brain is still a gift of God. ChatGPT, AI, all this cannot compare. And imagine if let's say there are preachers who use AI to generate the sermons, I really cannot imagine. Okay, no soul. There's no soul in the preaching because there's no encounter between human and God, right? But then AI can even tell you how to worship. Very good topic, yeah, you bring in on this worship element, AI. Not just post-COVID, it's AI. But it's getting more and more popular, isn't it? Perhaps it can reshape our thinking on... I just cannot imagine next time we have AI maid to cook for us.
AI, medical issues can be solved.
Medical issues can be solved using AI. AI doctor?
Translate, translate so many things.
Yeah, it's still open-ended. I'm still digesting about the AI thing. Because the seminary, we allowed students to use AI, but with a condition. Cannot use generative content. I mean that we are not going to go there. If you generate content using AI, that's plagiarism. No, there's a guideline.
Scammers also can use your voice.
Correct. Yeah. I have one video. I'm talking about the book of Amos, introducing the book of the Amos in Chinese. But then my friend just show me how AI can become Tamil, and my mouth also can become speaking Tamil, And then it's my voice. Oh my goodness! I show my children. I saw my child and my husband. They are what? I don't understand the Tamil but it sounds like authentic. Okay, please.
Yeah, I think it's probably not. It's about worship, but probably not so much of the topic. Because as you're talking, it reminds me. Because you talk so much about the Egypt, the Middle East, the civilization, the culture, and how the religion was formed by the Jews and all that. I remember we went to China, Beijing, Tiantang. Probably you heard of it, the Heaven of Temple. And there's a museum where you talk about. I think it's a place in the ancient China emperor worship the heaven god, which is the supreme god in the Chinese culture, the god of God in China. And that is the only temple in the China where there's no idol. It's only have a tablet and put it there. It's the supreme god or something.
What's the place of the name? The name of the place?
Beijing, the temple of heaven. Wow. Wow. And they actually depict that from emperor to emperor, because only the emperor can worship the supreme god on behalf of the people to pray for blessing every year. And the emperor had to fast and to prepare it. The ritual is almost an Old Testament, and they'll make sacrifices and burn.
Wow!
It's all in there.
Wow!
It's actually quite a good parallelism. I don't know whether the STM actually have ever done a study, because that the ancient Chinese is actually very much close to God, and somehow, somewhere along the line, after Qin Shi Huang, he was the last emperor that stopped the worship of God, supreme God, and from there, then the whole worship ritual all disappeared. Yeah.
There are literatures, comparative studies, only religious comparison have come to that, but I have not read a lot on that, but I come across the titles. Very good, huh? So what is your reflection at that time?
Well, I came to say it because I happened to came across a book that someone wrote about it, and we went to, and I was in China, so I went there and spent a lot of time there. And actually, I visited it a few times.
Wow!
Because I find it so fascinating. Because in the ancient Chinese, China was called Shenzhou.
Yes.
It's called
Shenzhou, yeah.
It's like the kingdom of God.
God.
Yeah. So they always believe that China in the ancient days somehow they actually
connected.
know God. But somewhere along the line, that God somehow eventually somehow and so the Chinese, they practice that they have God of kitchen, God of this, God of that.
Yes,
God
yeah.
So that was how it started. So only the king can worship the supreme God on behalf of the people. So the people the ordinary people can only pray to your local god. Kikong, the kitchen god and this and that. And then every year all the small god go and report to the big god. So they will pray for all these sweet things themselves, so that they can give you a good report to the supreme king. That was a cultural.
It's a different God, I think we have to.
Yeah, that's a different God. That is a perspective.
It's not the Yahweh we are talking about.
No,
I think-
I'm saying that the same.
yeah.
But I'm saying that the cultural, the patterns, the beliefs, and the views.
If you look at the general revelation, the part, general revelation, it could have the starting point there. It's just that in the middle, people go sideways. Okay. But what I think he's telling is that the source from all this, because God called all people His people, and then all people are made after His image,
Genesis and the Chinese language.
Okay. What that one I haven't studied, but I know people are talking about it. Even like Chuan, 8, like Noah Ark. Okay. Yeah. Okay, it's good interaction. But then interesting. I like comparative studies, cultural connection because we are talking about Christian faith and our culture. Okay, when these things are put into dialogue, we can even find more about truth, especially the general revelation. Okay, thank you.